Finally, ASAP Rocky dropped. Oh yeah! After over a 6 or 7 year wait since the very disappointing testing, we finally got Don't Be Dumb, an album that he was hyping up for years. But while testing was disappointing, I can't deny that Rocky has released amazing projects before. His debut mixtape Live Love ASAP has aged incredibly well over the years, proven to be very influential for hip-hop in the 2010s, inspiring more hip-hop artists to borrow the psychedelic ideas he was doing on that tape and incorporate them into their own music. It's very well deserving of its title as one of the best mixtapes to have ever come out of hip-hop. And then Long Live ASAP was amazing too, with near perfect highlights that I still listen to this day, such as One Train, one of the best posse cuts of the 2010s. At long last, ASAP, while a bit bloated, still had incredibly high highs as well, like Holy Ghost, Jukebox Joints and Excuse Me. During this long hiatus he went through since 2018's testing, Rocky has released a series of singles such as Riot, Hijack and so on. They were all pretty hit or miss and did receive mixed reception, because while I thought Riot was underwhelming, Hijack and Taylor Swift were incredibly fun bangers that showcased nearly everything that made Rocky such a captivating rapper to begin with, even bringing back that confident energy that was so likable in his early music. However, none of the singles I mentioned are on this album, unfortunately. There are only 2 singles that landed on this album, Helicopter and Punk Rocky, both of which were disappointing. I've heard hip-hop fans say that if you strictly like rap then you're not gonna like Punk Rocky, but I don't think that's entirely the case, because I feel like even the people who strictly like post-punk revival and neo-psychedelia wouldn't care for the song either, because they've actually listened to enough music from both genres to realize how cliche and generic Punk Rocky is. The song is only mind-blowing to ASAP Rocky fans because they're unfamiliar with that type of music. They think the song is so much better and more unique than it actually is because of their lack of exposure to those genres. I mean, this song is called Punk Rocky and it's not even strictly a punk rock song. It's more reminiscent of his other song Sundress than any punk song out there. I will admit that his singing on the track is way more listenable than the worst vocal moments on his previous albums, but there isn't a melody here that stands out and the instrumental couldn't be more bland. I do really like the fact that Rocky is taking risks and experimenting with more genres and sounds outside of rap, but I feel like he just doesn't have the appreciation or exposure to those genres to know how to make it his own uniquely great thing, instead of just borrowing the cliches and delivering the most basic product out of it. Then there was the second and final single for this album, Helicopter, a song that, while I do like more, I also didn't really care for. It's this straightforward, energetic Memphis rap / trap song that is sort of reminiscent of some of the tracks on testing, but it's also as forgettable as those tracks too. I mean, the siren circling beat is cool and hard, but there really could have been a stronger hook, and the fact that the hook plays even longer the second time it comes on makes me want to fall asleep even more. But even with all that said, I was still very excited for the album, and confirmed features like West Side Gun and Damon Albarn made me even more hyped. The opener, Order of Protection, is fitting with the lyrics about it having been a while since he's been in the league, and the instrumental progression going from minimal to a cinematic trap beat. The song attempts to build some victorious momentum at the beginning of this album, but on its own it's really one where I can just really take or leave. The auto-tuned chorus, where he sort of sounds like Future, is quite catchy, but the beats behind it could have done a better job of making it stand out more. It's also too short and has such a small amount of good moments for it to leave a positive impression on me. The first real highlight in the track list is Stole Your Flow, a trap banger with confident and braggadocious energy that reminds me of the earlier mentioned Hijack and Taylor Swift. The confidence he delivers in the hook, rapping about stealing someone's girl because they stole his flow, is still fun and contagious even when you don't interpret it as a likely diss towards Drake, and the villainous buzzing beat is also reminiscent of Tyler's Who Dat Boy, a song that Rocky himself was featured on. But then there's a sudden transition to these mysterious piano keys and choir vocals towards the back end of the track, along with some cinematic strings too. It's like this Gotham style outro to the song. Stay Here for Life has Brent Faiyaz singing the pre-chorus angelically. In the intro, it is layered over a Memphis rap sample that plays very quietly in the background. He brings arguably the best feature on the album, really killing it with a lovely vocal melody. Unfortunately, Rocky's low-pitched chorus that follows isn't as captivating, though he does sort of make up for it with some solid verses that have romantic and freaky vibes, complementing Brent's performance well. And that Memphis rap sample that I mentioned earlier is actually Rocky's chorus in the second part of the song, which comes after this beat switch, bringing heavy 3-6 Mafia vibes. This second part of the track feels really unneeded in my opinion. It's more like an outro than an actual second part with the lo-fi effects on the vocals. Nothing about this second part stands out. I could imagine there being a really cool verse to go along with it, but no, we just have the voice slowing down and then the volume decreasing to silence. It's such a nothing burger moment. But even with all of this said, Stay Here for Life is still easily one of the best cuts on the album. Player is this brief anthem about basketball with a pretty magical beat and singing rappy vocals, a song that once I finished the album completely escaped my memory because of how uninteresting Rocky's performance on this beat is. No Trespassing was one I didn't initially care all that much about, but it has grown on me a lot. It sounded promising with a head-bopping beat that's so minimal and smooth, it becomes eerie and attention-grabbing. Rocky also has a decent flow and switches his voice to the point where there's a moment he doesn't even sound like himself, like a feature on his own song. But the excitement that was building up is brought down a bit once the repetitive chorus comes on. However, its low-key monotone vibe really adds a lot of flavor to the laid-back yet hard-hitting beat and the more energetic verses before and after it. Yeah, it still could have been better, but it works. Stop Snitching is a killer anti-snitching bop that features one of Rocky's best performances on the album, with continuously engaging flow and voice switch-ups, almost like a vocal chameleon here. Source Walker's verse is great too and carries on the theme of the song as he calls out people who lie to their parents but not to the officers. STFU is a wild genre change, being the most industrial and electronic track on the album, but my earlier points that I made about whenever Rocky dives into a different genre, much of the time he doesn't really have the appreciation for it to make it into his own thing, and yeah, this pretty much applies here too. It's such a chaotic mess. Listening to the song made me want all the artists on the track to STFU. The shuffling jumps are disgusting and the distortion is unbearable. The song's structure isn't very smooth or cohesive either. It reminds me of Cherry Bomb with how messily chaotic it all is. I mean, Rocky even made a reference to Cherry Bomb earlier in the track list, and Tyler is even featured on one of the bonus tracks, so that album could unironically have been an inspiration. This song is what Death Grips sounds like to people who don't listen to Death Grips. Air Force Black Demarco is another wildly experimental song that follows and is better than STFU but still sounds like a mess. It has this insane glitchy beat that plays behind Rocky's rap verses, but once the chorus hits, it switches into a slow psychedelic moment where Rocky sings in an atmospheric and almost ethereal way with soft drums and elegant keys before returning back to the glitchy chaos. This type of idea is something that has been pulled off very well before. Take a look at Bump and Queer from Brockhampton's catalogue. However, with Rocky, I don't think it works that well here, as not only does his singing sound rough, but the tune isn't sticky either, and a captivating amazing chorus is really what you need to pull off a song like this well, like a therapeutic cool down moment from the chaos that came before it. Rocky also does this combination of psychedelic singing and rapping on the two-part song, the title track / Trip Baby, which feels like him combining two half-baked unfinished song ideas that have absolutely no correlation with each other at all, then putting them together into a song that still feels half-baked and boring. The first part even has him wearing his Frank Ocean influences on his sleeve, yet lacking the qualities that make Frank Ocean Ocean's music so great in the first place. Then we get the song I was most excited for, Whiskey, mainly because it features both West Side Gun and Damon Albarn of Gorillaz and Blur fame together on a track, and it was nowhere near as amazing as I anticipated, as not only are West Side and Damon's presences so small that they're barely even features, but the song itself isn't delivering anything new that the other tracks haven't. I mean, West Side Gun and Damon's part of the song is in the outro, where Damon is singing while West Side Gun does his iconic ad-libs, and while that does sound cool on paper, what it actually is an outro where nothing about it really sticks out. Robbery has Rocky and Doechii rapping over this jazz instrumental, not a jazz rap one, a jazz one, a Duke Ellington one. They both rap in a deadpan, low-key, sensual delivery to go hand in hand with the quietness and elegance of the jazzy beat, as well as bringing some spoken words moments into the mix. When I listen to this, I envision a chiaroscuro style scene where the duo mysteriously wanders through a quiet bar in the middle of the night. It's not one of my favorite Rocky songs ever, but compared to everything else on the album, it is one of the better tracks. Finally, we get the album closer, The End, which in 2026 has a feature from will.i.am, though my hope was still there because Jessica Pratt is also on the song, and I love her solo music, and the outro she brought to Hijack was like the beautiful cherry on top of that banger. So I was hoping what she did on this closer would be just as amazing, and yeah, it is pretty great. The chorus is pretty eerie and intentionally disturbing as it repeats the line, "This is the way the world ends," with the vocals manipulated to sound almost like a child is singing it. The repetition only makes it sound creepier. Past the halfway point, we have Jessica singing the chorus this time, and there really couldn't be a more perfect fit to sing this hauntingly elegant chorus than her, closing the record off on a note that I actually liked. Though that one line, "no books for them to read, we're all stuck on our screens," is such a boomer thing to say, especially with the song trying to be this deep, emotional, introspective message about the problems within the world. That line is a bit of an eye roll, but still, it is a decent closer. Overall, in a way, this album is like a continuation of what he was trying to do on Testing, with him experimenting with different sounds, vibes, genres, and aesthetics on one album to see what works. However, it doesn't sound like 8 years of improvement and progression have gone into this Testing process. Just like Testing, the best moments he pulls off here are through the Memphis rap / trap rap inspired bangers that he's already so familiar with. So even those moments, while still fun, aren't delivering anything all that fresh or new for him. There's also so much that's happened in his life since Testing, such as him beating the case, being with Rihanna, and having multiple children with her. So there is a range of topics he could bring to the table and make this album engaging throughout lyrically, but the lyricism overall isn't very interesting. Hijack and Taylor Swift really should have been on the album as well. They would actually fit in and be the best songs on here if they were. If I had to describe Don't Be Dumb in one word, that word would be disappointing. 4.7.